Hello, everyone, and welcome to Holistic Healing with Deepshikha. I have often been asked about what is energy healing and what does it do. I often also see the expressions and demeanor of the person change when I start explaining what healing is, and I've come to realize that it is because, for obvious reasons, no one wants to think of themselves as someone who is carrying any kind of emotion or energy or is so deeply affected by certain events in life that they need to be healed. In some ways, I think it is how mental illnesses are seen, though a lot has changed over the years. Even with healing, what I've come to realize is that people are now open to getting to know about it, but somehow, the moment it comes to seeking it for oneself, it becomes something akin to how going to a psychiatrist or a psychologist was seen up till a few years back. So, in this episode, I'm going to try and explain what exactly is healing and what exactly it is to be healed. To start with, let me talk about the obvious aspects of healing. Healing is something that can be done for any physical ailment one is suffering from. It can be done to improve any situation. It can be done for relationships. It can be done for dealing with stress, help with mental and emotional healing, etc. And I've spoken about this a number of times in the previous episodes. So, without getting into any further details of this obvious aspect, I am now going to explain the part that normally makes people uncomfortable. All of us, in some way or the other, have been affected by our previous generations. Even in cases where there is nothing drastic that has happened, there is no extreme trauma or such like thing, not even mild traumatic events have taken place. But yet, as we grow with the set of ideologies and thinking that is passed on to us from our parents, which was passed on to them by their parents and elders, and so on and so forth. Not all of these ideologies and way of thinking may be healthy. As the ideas are passed, so are the fears and insecurities. In fact, learned behaviors and acquired responses can be transmitted through several generations. For example, it is common to see children developing similar fears or phobias to that of the mother. Another example is that if a child is raised where he or she is constantly told about how money is scarce, will continue to hold similar views on availability of money irrespective of how much he or she starts to earn once they grow up, or in an extreme case may become a complete opposite and develop unhealthy spending habits. Now, in both these cases, nothing extreme has taken place, yet it affects the day to day functioning of that child even after they have grown up and developed their own ideologies and thinking. Another example is, let's say there is a household where the father holds or the men hold a authoritative position where anything said or done by them is never questioned. In fact, efforts are always made for them to be comfortable, irrespective of how it affects the other members of the house, which further leads to having to always tiptoe around the household. A child who has grown up in such an environment will either be someone for whom tiptoeing around others and putting their needs above oneself becomes like second nature to them, or will be someone who simply sees any kind of family responsibility as a burden and find ways to be hyper independent and prefers being alone. Now imagine these two extremities, and a child who has lived in such an environment can grow up to have a nature or behavioral pattern that is anywhere in between these two extremities. Some may even change from one extreme to another depending on the situation. There might be someone who has seen terminal illness in the family and no longer is comfortable or even has a bodily reaction to going to hospitals. And I can go on and on about such examples, normal day to day events that we go through growing up that may seem like something very trivial, yet ends up affecting us in ways that we do not realize. At times, even trapping us into patterns that may cause a lot of dissatisfaction, feeling of being stuck, and so on and so forth. Such inherited behavior patterns can also be related to a lot of societal norms that our previous generations have lived according to. A certain rigid way of thinking about something in particular is another example. Like, even though our generation has seen a lot of changes in this society, Yet, inside the closed doors, when a family is sitting together and there's a boy and a girl, if a household chore comes up, it's the girl who is asked to do it. And if it's a chore that needs to be taken care of outside the house, the boy is sent to do it. And this isn't because anyone in the household differentiates between the two. It just is. I'm not saying it's wrong. What I'm trying to bring to attention here is that the inherited behavior patterns and thinking can be that deeply ingrained. Now, these behaviors, thinking, etc., can be anywhere between the two extremes of being absolutely bad, where you're harming others, and extremely good, where you're harming yourself. But both these extremes are identifiable, and normally the person is also aware of it. It is usually the in betweens who need the help. Mostly also because they are the ones who are also in denial of having anything that could need to be changed for the better. So, what healing does is that it helps you identify these patterns and behaviors, to work upon them, to either break them or to learn to deal with them in a healthy manner. It helps you become aware of your potential, different ways in which you sell yourself short, the different fears and insecurities that you are carrying that aren't even yours. If you can visualize it, imagine having a big heavy bag on your shoulders. Healing will not make it vanish, but what healing will do is first, it will help you keep it down, and then slowly unpack that bag at your own pace and comfort so that you no longer have to carry that bag around anymore. The impact of healing on our lives can be profound. As we heal, we often find ourselves experiencing a greater sense of well being, resilience, and inner peace. We become more connected to ourselves and others, fostering deeper relationships and more fulfilling life. Healing can also bring about a shift in perspective, allowing us to see challenges as opportunities for growth and transformation. But if one does decide to undertake this journey, I would like to repeat that remember, healing can be messy, with ups and downs, progress, and setbacks. It's important to be patient with ourselves and recognize that healing takes time. Each person's journey is unique, and there is no right or wrong way to heal. And with this, I come to the end of this episode. I hope I've been able to answer the question that I'm asked mostly. Is healing only for those who have undergone a huge loss or trauma? Healing is the journey that one makes to connect with one's soul and learn to live life aware and connected with one's essence. Thank you for listening and have a great day and week ahead.